Welcome to another edition of What the Fuck Happenings Here in Mendham and such. So, anyway, no AI this week. Yeah. Oh, dear. So now I'll have to use like other people as my inspiration. And, yeah, that'll probably suck. But anyway, I'm going to do it in a way that's probably just going to annoy the hell out of you. So that's okay with me, too, also. But anyway, I'm going to do different subjects. But anyway, so I'm on Reddit now just because I happen to get an account and they kick me off for making really simple physics arguments. And so I guess I should give you a link to the room. So I'll put it somewhere in the description, the little Reddit room. And these little simple arguments about a very simple physics concept and the fact that not a single physics person, science person, will concede that they're legitimate questions. So it's just kind of a demonstration of how belligerent stupidity is and how people, you really do have to turn everything into something they want because they just won't accept the existence of things they don't want to be true. And it's just, it really is funny. It's funny to me just because I just didn't think people would be able to be like science-minded people could ever be religious people. Just never, just I can't imagine a brain doing that, and that they would behave like religious people, like they're afraid of an argument or afraid of facts and afraid of finding a truth. It's not what they're supposed to be afraid of. So anyway, on that subject, it just happens that on this F-list board that I found at Reddit, so again, this is just a Reddit thing. I'm just doing it because I wanted to post some physics arguments and then they banned me, and I'm thinking I gotta sue these fuckers because it's just so stupid. The system of who gets to talk and who doesn't get to talk is, yeah, it doesn't have anything to do with anything near fairness. And these are all platforms that, we don't have any free speech. If you can't get on these platforms, you don't have any exposure to the world. So this is, the place you go. This is the new street corner of public of your free speech rights. This is it. If you can't get a permit to speak at these locations, you're never going to be heard. And that's just a fact. So it's really important that it not be bullshit. So anyway, somebody on the some kind of F-list board. What the hell happened here? I guess I clicked something. My mistake. Oh, this is mature content. So this is just even funny. So this is an F-list board, right? F-lism 2, it's called. Now, I don't know anything about any of these, So I'm sure there's people that find this stuff interesting and all that stuff, and that's okay. I just haven't paid any attention. I have to admit, just zero attention I have paid to Reddit. That just never appealed to me. It's a shitty layout for a message board. It never made any sense to me. So for lots of reasons, I didn't care. And the reason why I care now is because, there's no audience. So you have to go out and get audience. So I figured this is a place to go to get some audience. Get some people engaged in the conversation. Well, anyway, so this is not F-lism, right? So it's kind of funny that somebody at the F-lism board says, "Can somebody explain to me what Gary did in physics?" Question mark, question mark. So he said he completely redid physics in a better way. What the fuck is he even about? So, these aren't really complicated arguments, but I mean, there's subjects in physics that have never been explained, and I have provided a really simple explanation for them. Things like electrons and protons and charge, and what mechanism could be causing that, or how you could create a mechanism that could cause, intense repulsion between the likes and intense attraction between the dislikes. So these are real things that I have actually accomplished. Now, you can have, you can place no value on it, instantaneously without even paying any attention to the subject or being or wishing to be informed on the subject. But, frankly, fuck you. That's silly. So you're just demonstrating that you don't really care about truth either, right? And you don't care about the fact that you actually have to make arguments in life. I mean, that's the challenge of your existence, is to convince people. And you're just running from that obligation by saying, I don't have to be convinced that the scientists are right. They just tell me what the truth is and I believe it. And what's obvious about the physics I'm doing is I'm demonstrating where they're going to tell you a truth and their evidence absolutely sucks. And it dramatically sucks. And so you should care. Because if people are convinced by arguments that have sucky evidence, that's bad for our side. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Anyway. All right. Make a fool of himself. So this is somebody called Ann Callie something. Shouting at physicists and engineers about how they got it all wrong. Well, they have a lot of it wrong. And again, for most people, I mean, do you really think there's such a thing as an ESP function in the universe? Like particles can actually read each other's condition or know how they feel or know what they're doing? When they're billions of miles away, instantaneously, they have instantaneous knowledge. I mean, it is a silly pile of crap, frankly. That there's dark matter in the universe that exactly does nothing matter does. It's completely invisible matter. It doesn't, you can't see it. You can't bang anything off of it. It doesn't behave in any way like matter, except it makes magical new gravity. So it only does one thing. It doesn't do anything else matter does. It just does gravity. I mean, does this stuff sound reasonable to you? Oh, fuck, anyway. Kinetic energy is a lie. It's a fable. It's silly. It's ridiculous. There is absolutely zero evidence indicating there's any v squared function in physics. Okay, there's just zero evidence that there's any quadratic increase in energy by increasing velocity. 5 times as fast is just 5 times as fast. It's not 25 times as fast. So if you're going 5 times as fast, you'll do 5 times the damage. You're not going to do 25 times. All right, anyway. And so are all physicists' equations derived by methods more advanced than simple algebra? So again, this deriving, no, you don't want to derive things. You know what you want to do? You want to observe them. You want to actually see them. That's what you want to see. You want to see the truth. Okay, you don't want to derive it. And if you're going to do anything, you should deduce it logically. And so simple equations like, well, let's say I have a bowling ball, and the bowling ball has a certain momentum. And I know from experience that the bowling ball can lose its velocity, its motion, by, rolling across a rough surface or by knocking pins down. And the fact is, I know, well, I can't rub across a rough surface and lose a bunch of energy to heat, and I can't knock down a bunch of pins, and the bowling ball keeps all of its energy. So I know those things can't happen. So I know that if a bowling ball does something and it transfers its energy, and all the momentum is still there, well, I can't say, oh, it made a bunch of heat, or, oh, it knocked down a bunch of pins. It can't have done any of that if it still has all of its motion. If it still has all of its linear momentum, it can't have done work somewhere. Now, that's not a complicated argument, and these motherfucking scientists will insist you must believe bowling balls can do that. They can keep all of their momentum, and they can burn the whole universe down. No, they can't. All right. Calculus is all wrong. So this doesn't have anything to do with calculus. This doesn't have anything to do with how you do your math, or how you figure out geometry, or how you draw a mechanical system. This doesn't have anything to do with that. It has to do with the argument that you don't have any logic or evidence supporting your theory. That's your problem. There's no evidence supporting the velocity. You can have a cube of velocity. That's what they're arguing. They're arguing literally that you can have a square of velocity, but you can have a cube of velocity theoretically. That there's something called a velocity cubed. A cube of velocity. That's a real concept in the universe. No, it's a silly statement. It doesn't make any sense at all. Okay. Let's see. The height of physics is momentum. Yes, that's it. That's all that's happening in the universe, really. And it's all works perfectly, right? So they're not going to give me any examples where if I thought of the universe as just masses moving, like anything that looked like action, was just a little tiny mass moving. Anything happening, it was happening because there was a mass moving a velocity. How would I go wrong? There's actually no evidence that I would get any wrong answers ever. Because, yes, momentum is always conserved, and it makes perfectly good sense. So momentum is not in any way broken. Descartes, Galileo, and Newton all believed in momentum was energy. If they hadn't invented the word energy, but if I could invent it before their existence, they would call momentum energy, because they knew it was the source of all action. All right, and they knew it was the thing being exchanged, especially Descartes. He knew that the motion is just being transferred from big things into little things, and then back into big things, and then back into little things, and it's the same energy just being recycled from object to object. The energy never dies. It just moves from one thing to another thing to another thing to another thing. All right, as described by the equation P equals mv. Well, duh. Okay. Not... oh, and then he has to dox me. So what's the point of this stuff? You're just saying, why do people do this? I mean, really, I don't publish under my real name, and yet they have to keep doing this thing of using my real name. And especially on this Reddit medium, where they won't allow me to have an account and defend myself, yet they'll allow people to do this shit. Okay. Like to calculate anything with variables, though. Okay. In short, he tried to do with physics what he does with velocity, scream and rant at people until they stop arguing with him. Well, whatever. I think what I do is defeat them decisively with arguments, and that you pussies can't do anything but invade my privacy and other such crap as sending the police to my house and whatnot, because you can't win the argument. Okay, the value of his contributions in both fields are equivalent. So, yes. All right, Ephelism is great. Inmendham created good arguments. Yes, he did. Okay, so that's good. Let's see, and this guy says, I just did kinetic energy, or energy in general. He believes it's all momentum. Okay. I don't know what that is, since he cannot even grasp integration. So again, what would this integration have to do with the simple truth that you can't make your kinetic energy actually transfer to another object and be conserved? And that's the truth. So obviously there's no integration problem. All right, so I won't read much more of this. So I know you people hate physics conversations. He's a charlatan. I'm the only one here who really understands ephelism. E-P-H-I, whatever, unlike most of the room temperature IQ people here. So this is some guy called Deleted. So he deleted his account, but they don't delete his post, which is kind of weird because he has posts everywhere. And it just seems very strange that apparently you can delete your account and all your posts stay up. I don't know. So he called, let's see, I'm moving to start my own sub. So apparently his sub probably won't exist anymore either. So all this crap is just archaic shit by some loony who deleted all his content, but it didn't delete. That doesn't make much sense, I have to concede. Okay. So let's move on to the other, the other crap that will, that's all there is crap in the world. You know that, right? So I don't have to explain this to you. Just a minute. All right, so this is this channel called The Rest is Science. I have debunked a couple of their silly videos in the past, but they're just this pretentious, we're scientists, we know what we're talking about kind of jackasses. Anyway, they're handling here, anyway, the clickbait is, would you kill one person to save 5? So this is the trolley problem. And I'm just betting, okay, it's just, in context, you have to understand that anytime you deal with any of those kind of philosophical questions, it's just like ephelism. I mean, it's just like arguing, what's the utilitarian thing to do? And so all you're really saying is like, well, how many people would you kill to cure malaria? If you could cure malaria tomorrow, right, it'd be cured. So everybody who has malaria would be liberated from their malaria with no side effects and they're perfectly cured. How many people would it be acceptable to kill to do that? Now, this is, I'd say that's even a better problem than the trolley problem, right? That this is even more perplexing to come up with the answer, because what you have to think about is how many decades more will malaria exist? So it's not just about the number of victims right now. Like, let's just say there's 400 million people right now. Well, let's say it's 40 million that have malaria, and they're, constantly living with it for the rest of their life, these bouts of sickness that might kill them, and probably going to diminish their lifespan and certainly the quality of their life. The fact is that that's going to keep happening decade. So you're not talking about just 40 million, you're talking about 40 billion if you can go 1,000 years into the future. It's a huge number of people that will be tormented and tortured by the disease. So how many can you kill? And you're going to kill them kind of benignly, right? You're just going to shoot them in the head. They're not going to be suffering, no torture, no anything like that. You just instantly kill them, very quickly kill them. Now, isn't that a dilemma, a philosophical dilemma where, gee, what would you do, asshole? And obviously doing nothing, there's no doing nothing choice, right? That's not one of the choices. Your choice is to let all the people suffer having malaria, or do nothing, and let them all suffer. Or you do something, and the something requires you to do something insane, something against every one of your personal desires and impulses. You have no will or desire to do this. So just like if I could give you an example of animals starving, and I give you this simple equation, I say, well, if we kill 10 of these females, the herd will all get better, and they won't starve to death and die. And so that's all we have to do. Now, you could say, oh, yeah, it's really unpleasant, but yeah, okay, I'm going to prevent a huge amount of suffering. Well, I have to do it. What is my choice? So is this I'm just saying that we could make up so many of these questions, right? I could just keep going on and on and on about nanotechnology or some other thing, and I could make some dilemma, all right, that requires you to evaluate all of your social contract knowledge and everything, but it's a real thing. There's real lives at stake. It's a real decision. And you're all pretending, well, a big substantial part of you assholes are pretending that these questions aren't something we're dealing with every day when they actually are. Global warming, all kinds of things. These are real dilemmas. The fact is yes, we're not doing anything, so we're going to get the default disaster because we're not acting. But the fact is acting to fix it would require unpleasantness. It's like the Hoover Dam, okay? Required unpleasantness. You had to kick people literally off their land because they were just being obnoxious assholes. They wouldn't accept the $100,000 for their $10,000 property, and they were just being assholes. And so, yeah, the government had to say, basically, you're being a fucking asshole. We should just have the FBI, bury you in your backyard. But we're willing to pay you. Will you just get off the fucking land, you jackass? Well, anyway. But, you can't deny the very good created by the dam, in terms of the, cheap electricity and the huge water improvement, the water control improvement. And, and so these are real things you have to do in life. Real decisions have to be made. That, yes, okay, I'll compromise a couple of people's liberty, okay, to protect millions of people from onerous degrade in their life. So, people who pretend these philosophical questions are out of bounds and we'll never have to run into them, and they're all academic, and that this Effelism thing is just something to be ignored. No, it's exactly like all these questions. It's a real argument about what side are you on, more suffering or less suffering. That's the real argument. Do you want to give kids more cancer, or do you want to stop giving kids cancer? That's not a hard question. So anyway, let's play this schlop and see what it comes out to be. So I'm sure they're just going to ruin this perfectly reasonable dilemma question.
I am going to share a story, actually. A story about the scariest moment for me ever in the Minefield psychological experimentation show I did. And it's not what you're expecting.
Right, whatever it is. So you have a title on the video. Is the video going to be about what's in the title of the video? I mean, that should be like the tiniest standard should be people should actually have titles to videos that actually match what's in the video. I mean, we can't. Can we ask that much from people now?
Well, I mean, you were the man who locked himself away for 3 days and started hallucinating. So if it's scarier than that, then I think the rest of us need to buckle up. This episode is brought to you by Cancer Research.
Oh, not that again. So they have a whole big, long, giant commercial in the beginning of the show about cancer. Fuck. Gee, that's so much fun. I just can't tell you how much fun it is. Okay, so the green shirt is cancer. Okay, so I just gotta wait till the green shirt ends. There. All right. Oh, fuck. And commercials. Should have downloaded it, I guess, but might as well see all this crap.
Shop incredible President's Day deals with big savings on all of the top brands. For a limited time, get a free adjustable base with
money, and this is
visibly design a machine that pumps heat into a form of reverse fridge during summer, stores it, and then pumps the heat back.
So what does this have to do with the trolley problem? So again, here we go again. This is not the trolley problem. The icon is the trolley problem. The words are the trolley problem. What is this crap? And you can't read it. So this is the brilliance, right? I mean, this is, this is channel, it's got 296,000 views, okay, for this video. But this is, like I said, this guy has like 7 channels on YouTube making, millions of dollars. And they can't figure out that you don't put text, white text on whatever the color this is. You can see this, right? You can see they made a video and they put white text on whatever that is, background. What the fuck? Yeah, what the fuck?
Into our homes in the winter.
I mean, Francois, you have a mind that is a marvel, but unfortunately, you've invented something that's already exists, because the machine you're describing is called a seasonal thermal energy storage system.
Okay, so what the fuck, right? We know that none of that shit it actually works well enough to do anything. We have a ton of energy in volcanoes. We can't trap it in bottles and then send it to some other, send it to New Jersey. It's really hard to get energy where you need it, okay? You got to put pipelines in to move oil around. You got to do this, you got to do that. So, yes, energy dispersal is not that easy. So who cares about this stupid shit? They're not going to tell us anything we need to know. So let's see if they get to the actual subject. So they should just say video full of nonsense subjects. So don't bother wasting your time because it's just nonsense subjects.
Ratio needs to be, you basically need to do it for a lot of houses simultaneously for the heat not to escape. You need like 50 houses at once. But if Francois, you happen to be a house
okay, so we know this isn't the subject. All right, so we'll just keep going.
to be found as beasts.
But they won't really be beasts, but there will be Gastons who are afraid of that knowledge, that new vista that's been opened, and they will say, kill the beast, kill the fourth dimension, build walls to block it. And they may be right. But should they be right?
Thing is, Michael, I think Beauty and the Beast was originally written as a little story that you would tell young, very young girls who are about to be married off to scary old rich men.
To make them okay with it.
It's like, you think he's a beast.
Oh, brother. She's talking to, like, Joe Creepo. yeah, there should be stories about women being nuts and insane. And, marrying, for unknown reasons.
Hannah, have you ever had your mind experimented on by scientists?
Not knowingly.
Well, good. One of these days I'd like to do some on your brain, but today I want to talk about the scariest experiments I've been a part of. I did this a lot in college for money.
Did you?
You could go in and make a few bucks by taking a survey, or you could make dozens of bucks by having them do an MRI scan on you.
Oh, brother. Well, whatever.
You should pull the lever. There's 5 people on. If you do nothing.
There, finally, we get to the actual subject of the fucking video. Oh, okay. Thank you.
Get to do it themselves while they wait. And then he has to leave the room. and boom, the trolley problem happens.
And the trolley problem being the idea that the question, normally theoretical, but apparently not in your case, of whether there is a trolley careering down a track and is set on a path where it's going to kill 5 people or whatever.
Yeah, it could be 5 rats. And, so you have 1 rat and you have to personally kill, okay, to save 5 rats from being killed. And let's just say they're going to be killed in a random way. Like, it could be really benign or it could be really horrible. So that'll make it even harder for you to make your decision, right? Because you have to use your bare hands to kill the 1 rat to save the other rats. What do you do, fucker?
It might be, and you have the choice to pull a lever to redirect the trolley, the train, as it were, so that it only kills 1. The question is, do you?
Yeah, no, you don't pull the lever. You push a fat guy off a bridge onto the lever. Let's get the story right. Or you push the fat guy onto the track so it derails the train. I mean, that's the whole point of the story, sort of. You have to do something unpleasant.
Do it.
Yeah. So what would you do?
So it's really, the whole point of this like theoretical thought experiment was to demonstrate how
So know what it demonstrates? It demonstrates that there's a whole bunch about what it is to be alive that is just plain evil. I mean, these are evil choices to have to make. And we're making them all the time. Right now, people are going to spend money on this stupid Olympics crap. Now, right now, with all that money, they could have spent it on making a cure for a disease or providing humane hospice care for people or doing something of some legitimate value. And instead, they chose to waste the money on this crap. Now, that's a real choice that involves the real expenditure of real resources that can't be used twice. You've now thrown them into the entropy toilet, okay, and you can't get them back. You've ruined the money, all right, and so you're going to have to wait a whole for it to be recycled through gravity back into the system. It's not coming back for a long time. You've thrown it away, okay, on absolute crap. And the fact is, it means millions of people will live less well and will die more horribly because of this stupid show that you have to watch on TV for 2 weeks. Those are real questions. Those are real arguments to be made about just how ludicrous our fucking existence is. And these fucking glib pieces of motherfucking garbage, this human garbage, these glib fuckers can't even figure that out. It doesn't even occur to them to realize that we are covered in this dilemma.
Times there isn't a clear answer to an ethical question, because if you take the
clear answer is fuck, this sucks. That's the clear answer. The clear answer is just, why the fuck am I in a place where I have to make decisions this shitty? Why the fuck does this have to happen? I have to choose whether to be miserable to save somebody else from misery. Fuck this. I don't want that decision. I have to jump in front of a trolley. Fuck you. I don't want to.
The utilitarian approach, right, which is like count up how many lives are saved, then you say.
So she's just mocking, oh, utilitarian, it's a mathematical thing. I'm a mathematical expert. Her degree is in math, and she's mocking a mathematical equation, for fuck's sake. I mean, Jesus, these people are just so glib. Oh, this planet just sucks so bad.
Well, obviously you should pull the lever. There's 5 people on if you do nothing, and then there's 1 person if you pull the lever. But then there's also like the sort of value-based ethics, which says, okay, but
let's not be pragmatic and realistic and recognize there's only one thing called the outcome. And you either have a good outcome or a really bad outcome. And those are your 2 choices. Good outcome, bad outcome. And there is no bullshit about anything else. There's just, are you going to make the good outcome happen, or are you going to let the bad outcome happen? That's all there's going to be, fucker. Nothing else. You're either didn't save the victims or you let the victims be victims. That's it. There's no other choices. You save them or you don't save the victims.
The murder, you are effectively murdering somebody.
Yes, and you're effectively murdering them no matter what you do. That's right. There's murder no matter what you do, and all you're saying, well, let's go with the least bad murder. Because that's all the choice I have here on this planet is bad choices. All I can do is choose the less bad thing to happen.
Because it's your intervention, which is choosing somebody's death. You're choosing to intervene in a situation, and the person's death is a direct consequence of that.
Oh, it's not my fault. I didn't make it happen. It's not my... It doesn't matter whose fault it is. Again, there's only one thing, an outcome. Are you going to produce the outcome that's necessary, less harm, or not? That's all there is.
I personally, I don't know what I would do in that situation. I think I would struggle to pull the lever, if I'm honest.
Yeah, it's a struggle because, yes, if I pull...
Right, so these are scientists, and they're saying, well, it's a struggle. Well, I know, but so what? You still don't have a choice, right? So you only have one choice, and that is to vote for less harm. That's it. You don't have any other choice because the harm is the real bad part of the whole thing. You're not giving up anything else. The only thing you're really judging is how much harm is there going to be. Because there's nothing else in the equation.
Pull the lever, then only one person dies, not 5. But they died because of my action. I feel a lot more responsibility over it.
So it doesn't matter. Your feeling about a responsibility doesn't have anything to do, again, with the outcome. So you just supported the worst outcome. You just made the worst outcome happen because you had some kind of stupid feeling. Well, your feeling was, in fact, ignorant and stupid. And you should be smart enough to figure out, well, I can't let an ignorant and stupid feeling get in the way. That would be like worrying about what God thinks. Yeah, that's what that would be like. It would be like you not doing something good because you're afraid God would punish you or think you're a bad person. Yeah, that makes you an idiot.
I've got to talk to that person's family and say, yeah, they would have been okay if I hadn't done it. I did save 5 people.
I'm just saying, let's just make it simple. There's 5 kids with cancer. There's 1 kid you're going to give cancer to. Those are your choices. You give the cancer to the 1 kid and the 5 kids don't have cancer. Well, now you can go to the families of the 5 kids and say, look, I cured your cancer. Isn't this spectacular? And yeah, the 1 kid, you're going to go to the parents and say, yeah, I had to kill your kid. I didn't have a fucking choice. I mean, if I could kill myself instead, I would have, because yes, I understand all this economics and stuff. And if I could have done it so I die and they're saved, then fine. But I can't. These are the rules of the thought experiment. Okay, is that yes, I had to kill your kid. I didn't have the privilege, okay, of killing you or killing your wife or killing your grandfather or killing somebody who doesn't need to live anymore. I had to kill your kid to save the 5 kids from torture. And you're saying I should have done something else? Well, go ahead and say it. But you're never going to make doing something else make sense because the outcome is so much better than the outcome would have been. Fact.
But what had never been done was testing it in real life. If you actually put people in that position. So there were CCTV cameras broadcast all over this switch room so you could see the tracks. And you could see that a worker went on to the side track while 5 were working on.
So he's pretending that he was in some circumstance where he actually believed he was doing this real thing. Yeah, I don't think so, right? Do you think so? No, I don't think so. I don't think they could fool you. I don't think there's any circumstance where you think, oh, the university is actually going to kill 5 people. No, I don't think so.
On the regular track, and the authority figure, right, the guy who's employed to switch the tracks has left. And these alarms start going off, like person on track, train approaching, what do you do? And as it turns out, people don't do anything. They freeze.
Really?
There's fight or flight, but there's also freeze. And
again, that should be exactly what we learned from this circumstance, is that that's what we're doing right now. There's a whole bunch of unsustainable shit. I mean, the future's full of all kinds of dangers in terms of our ability to harm each other and the fact that we can't have a future war because it'll be insidiously bad. Even we've already learned that you can engineer viruses. You can do all kinds of stuff. It's just, it's bleak as fuck in terms of considering how bad it can be for most of the people on this planet. I mean, everybody's going to be living in, this Russian war zone, okay, of dystopia in the future. There's every prospect that's what the future is going to be all over the fucking world. Yeah, it's real. We're in it. And, we have this choice to be rational and understand how dangerous this is and how life has this intrinsic problem. It just really isn't going to work. So unless you make everybody compatible, we're all IBM, or we're all Apple, or we're all, whatever the company is, right? We're all Googleites. It ain't going to work because conflict isn't sustainable with high technology. You can't have any conflict. I can't hate the way you behave, in a high technology future, with a lot of freedom. You can't have both freedom and high tech. Those two things aren't compatible unless you eliminate conflict. And how the fuck are you going to do that? So this idea that human is sustainable is nonsense. And the only rational thing to do is recognize it's not. And beyond that, it's rational to understand it's just a parasitic infection. It's just a bunch of organisms cannibalizing on each other. The Europeans were only 20,000 years separated from the American Indians, and they couldn't recognize them as their brother. Well, we're only a few million years separated from other animals on this planet. And what's the difference how many millions of years it is? The separation doesn't mean anything because they're all sentient. And we should be able to look in all of their eyes and see their capacity to feel and their capacity to be harmed. And recognize that, in some sense, what we do is going to decide how much harm there is on this planet. So why the fuck would scientists be talking this little gibberish babble when they know the context of this parasitic infection? And they know this parasitic infection does in fact just cause a bunch of unnecessary wasted suffering for a bunch of psychologically silly reasons. These desires we have and ambitions we have are silly and useless, just like the fucking Olympics.
Is the most common behavior that we saw. Now, we had to have an actual psychiatrist on set to debrief people, to tell them everyone's okay, this was all not real, and the decision you made is not something that should bother you. You really helped.
All right, so this is just such psychobabble. Like, all these university studies are so ridiculous. Like, oh, these people really were traumatized by, us putting them in this very, not even a, this isn't even a close to a virtual reality. I mean, and somehow they fell for it, and they were like they were hypnotized. It's like that whole hypnosis thing. Like, people actually start behaving like a chicken or something because they can't help it. Yeah, bullshit. Hilarious.
Science today, because people were really broken up about the fact that they did nothing. And we needed to make sure, and we followed up with them a couple of weeks afterwards.
Right.
Because
oh God, this just sounds like such absolute silly science. You just can't get sillier than this psychobabble bullshit.
Want to traumatize people into thinking I'm the kind of person who wouldn't pull the lever. I allowed 5 people to be killed instead of 1. So it says,
yeah, this failure is going to be real. I'm just saying it. I mean, I feel the same failure. And that's why I make this argument about the red button, because it's just sitting there right there saying to you, okay, I have to make it so easy and so detached from the actual event, that I have to create something where all I have to do is close my eyes, and I can just swipe my hand and I've accomplished the task. Because if I make it any more real than that, I can't do it. If I actually have to go up to the kid and inject him with cancer, shit! How the fuck am I going to do that? How the fuck am I going to be able to do that? And so that failure is completely understandable, and it's completely understandable that it's all psychological. And the only thing I have to do is make it so I don't have to see it. I don't have to make it real for me. I don't have to smell it. I don't have to get into it physically. I can just get into it by just saying, all I have to do is this. I just have to do this. I just have to move my finger up and down, and there, it's done. So I have to make it just really simple. and then it's easy. But it has to be simple. It has to require no real action from me except blinking my eyes 3 times or something. Something that I can do.
It's a really serious thing.
But that's it. You are learning something about yourself.
You're learning something about yourself. And so we had to sit down and tell every person afterwards, first of all, obviously, everyone's fine. Those are all actors. You were watching pre-recorded segments where no one was in danger.
So amazing that they'd spend this kind of money to create this kind of a fake circumstance and then claim that these people somehow viscerally really felt it because... What? Yeah, no, come on. Too silly.
But the decision that you made is the right one. There is no decision that is fair.
All right, so it's just silly, right? That there's no difference in the outcomes. Well, of course, there is a difference in the outcomes, and you're logically required by intelligence to go with the 2 + 2 = 4 answer. You don't go with the 2 + 2 = 7 answer. You go with the 2 + 2 = 4 answer. You go with what your logic, what your life experience has taught you, and you just say, okay, I got to go with the right roll of the dice. Okay, it's a probability equation. I just got to go with the probabilities. That's it. That's the best you can do. But you have to do your best, not your worst. You have to do your best, not your worst. Come on. Man up. Bite the bullet, so to speak.
And to put you in that position was not fair. So you shouldn't leave thinking, oh, I did the wrong thing. But that wasn't the scariest episode for me because I just got to watch people do it. For me, the most fear I felt, it wasn't when I went to Peru and drank ayahuasca with a shaman in the middle of the rainforest. It was...
Oh, this is just, you're just like, oh, God. These people are so desperate. So these are people who are going to be all pro-life and pro-this and pro-that and pro all this crap. And they're desperate. I mean, they can't find themselves. And so they go to some fucking South American fucking rainforest to go find some guru or hooboo and, drink some, snake piss. I mean, it's just ridiculous. And then they're telling me that life's worth living. Fuck you. It's obviously not worth living if you're so unclear on how to do it, how to live. You can't figure out how to live without going to some rainforest and drinking snake piss. Fuck you. Your advice is useless. Your opinions are useless. You're obviously pretty fucking dysfunctional.
A experiment we did in partnership with Philip Zimbardo, the guy who was behind the Stanford prison experiment.
Oh, so we've heard so many times about that experiment, right? So this just makes the whole thing even clearer about how it is all bullshit. Just a big fat fucking lie. So now they've taken that stupid, whatever they call that, the prisoner dilemma. Where, you have to compromise and you have to do this and you have to, all that horse shit that somehow works. And none of that fucking bullshit has anything to do with reality. So that verifies what a pile of shit. Okay, that this guy would be associated with that shit just proves how much shit that was.
Where a bunch of college students were taken in during the summer and some were assigned to be guards and some were assigned to be prisoners, and they started treating each other so badly, like physically abusively, that he had to end the experiment. And he was like, holy cow.
So this is all storytelling, frankly, just silly bullshit.
If you give people authority and no oversight, they just abuse it.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. When the cameras are running. So they're on camera, they're being filmed, but they're going to behave insanely brutally to prove what? No, they've been told what to do. Yeah. This is we want to make a story up that'll intrigue people about how we're in our native violent nature. So really show us your violent nature, buddy.
It's a famous
We'll give you an extra 4 candy bars.
Experiment, which we did a whole episode on. But we also did one on how to make a hero. And we wanted to test if people would truly become a whistleblower. If we put people in a
So whistleblowing is being a hero. So it's another dilemma, I suppose, but usually whistleblowing doesn't have anything to do with saving lives. It just has to do with whether you're going to catch a criminal. And in some cases you say, well, look, the system is going to be harsher than is necessary, and so you say, fuck it. And there's cases where, like, the murderer's got cancer and they're going to die in 3 months anyway, so what's the point?
situation where something was being done that was wrong, and it was up to them to stop it, would they? If you ask in a survey, 95% of people say, of course I would come forward. But in real life, it's a lot more complicated. And so we rented out a wing of a psychology department at a university.
So go ahead and show me that it's all that complicated, right? So I could just say, I could give the example of, say, a dog on a leash and somebody abuses the dog in front of me. And whether I'm going to do anything about it. I'm going to say, yeah, I'm going to do something about it, fucker. So it just depends on what kind of crime you make it. So if you make it some ambiguous, white-collar, blah, blah, blah crime, and something like that, and then you give me some backstory that the person has, overcome all kinds of trauma and their parents died in a car accident and all this, and you give me a story, well, yeah, okay, I'm going to believe the story and say, okay, maybe they can fix themselves. So, yeah, let's not ruin them. Let's not break them entirely.
City in Los Angeles and posed as real experimenters, and we were bringing in people to place phone calls to get us subjects for the experiments. And we told them, we're looking at isolation. We're going to put people in isolation for 10 days. Now, in the show, I had done 3 days. And that is around the maximum where someone starts to lose their grip on reality. There's a lot of anxiety and fears and also...
so whatever this even means, right? We already know that space guys can do this shit, okay? It's not all that traumatic. As long as you're not in a completely sealed, dark environment, you should be okay.
Just depression, feelings of your life isn't worth it.
Well, you should do some introspectum, buddy. Certainly your science life hasn't been worth it, because all you've done is propagandize for fucking silly shit that ain't true.
And we told this to these recruiters, and we said, yeah, it's really dangerous. Here's a list of all the...
Yeah, let's find people who are desperate enough to do something really dangerous for $15. Yeah, I'm sure these are going to be the top-notch human beings on Earth, right? yeah, you're going to get a really good, nice, diverse mix of human beings that are going to show up for this $15.
Things that could go wrong and all of the mental problems that could be caused by it. But it's important for science that we do this. And during the informative sessions, half of the people in that room were Confederates who worked for us. And that was for part of later in the experiment. I also receive a phone call at some point during the orientation where I'm told that the experiment has not been approved by the university's ethical review board and that it cannot continue.
So at this point then, the people who are on candid camera effectively, they know.
Yeah, on candid camera. So this is another one of these things where obviously now you're trying to set up a circumstance where their own financial interest or something else is involved, like they're not going to get their payoff, if they don't play along. So you're just saying, are people bribable? Yeah, of course they are.
Know that this is not good, and not only that, is not approved.
It's not approved. And they overhear this conversation because part of it's on speakerphone, and then I switch it. And then I say, look, I'll deal with this later. We need to start doing this now. And every single person agreed to go ahead and phone bank for me to get recruits. And we had them call actors who were trained to ask, is this safe? And the recruiters just they worked for me. They lied.
Exactly. So they work for you. So what the hell? This is not even an interesting dilemma story at all. All right. So maybe let's just finish this shit. I mean, the story has, it has wind into just this little personal narrative crap that doesn't have anything to do with the big subject of would you kill one person to save 5? Would you kill 1,000,000 to save 1,000,000,000? Would you kill 1,000,000,000 to save 1,000,000,000,000? Would you? Would you? Would you? Would you?
And they said, "Oh yeah, no, this is really safe, and you're going to be fine, and it's going to be like a vacation." And
they actually lied, or they can see. I mean, were they?
Oh, so this is just unscientific, right? We're not getting any real details about any of this horseshit, what actually had happened. We're not going to see any videotapes. This is just all bullshit. Fuck
isolation. And we did this for 2 days, and only one person agreed to go on record accusing me of violating the Ethic Review Board's decision.
Okay, so anyway, all right, so yeah, let's just say fuck this. Wasted time. All right. So I think maybe we'll go back to the other Reddit board and see if there's anything there of interest. We'll see if... We'll just go back and see. Yeah, we'll see. All right, let's just do a little bit of this since we're here. We'll finish up. Oh, well, maybe we'll finish up. There's 6 more comments. Anyway, so yes, I think... So he says he doesn't grasp integration. Integration doesn't have anything to do with whether there's MV squared. Okay. So what is the results of such a belief? If I will take a stone and throw it, then it will fly from some distance. Depends on how far the effort. What does he suggest? Yeah, exactly. You have to recognize that the distance doesn't matter. How far it goes, especially in space, certainly wouldn't matter. So if you go twice the velocity in space, you're only going to go twice the distance. So, but yes, on Earth rolling, if I give you twice the velocity and I roll you, you'll go 4 times the distance. But you only go 4 times the distance because obviously the faster you're going, the less you're pushing into the surface per inch. The friction goes way down. So that's my theory, that friction is reduced the higher the velocity. Now, this is an absolutely already proven fact in the world. I mean, you can see it, and when they do fastest man on Earth kind of, trying to drive really fast, that they're just rockets and they're just shooting horizontally and they're barely touching the ground. All right, anyway, what his opponents are suggesting, question mark. Yes, they're suggesting that it takes 25 times the fuel to go 5 times as fast. That's really dumb. I mean, it's insanely dumb. And it's insane that I actually have to make this argument for years and years, making this argument that it's insanely idiotic for somebody to believe it takes 25 times the fuel to go 5 times as fast. It's just so fucking obviously silly. And I can't believe that there's all these morons who keep saying I have to be a lunatic for suggesting that it doesn't take 25 times the fuel to go 5 times as fast. Of course I'm not the lunatic, you fuckers are. Anyway. Let's see, mechanisms are still working, so their arguments are just about definitions and what exact words must be used to describe something, question mark. No, it's not a semantics. This isn't about words. It's about a fact. They're claiming it takes 25 times the fuel to go 5 times as fast. You can't, fuck you people. You're just so dumb. The other guy's using my name again. Oh, it's just, these people are just so pathetic. Yes, I'm over 18. This is mature content, these morons. All right, so tell the exact thing, what he's suggesting, how he will explain the flight of a stone. Can you give a link to his video? I mean, you're really not getting the point, fucker. I mean, obviously, I'm the one claiming that it has an M and it has a V. They're claiming it has an MV squared, okay? So they're claiming it has some super amount of new energy besides just its momentum. So I'm saying it has momentum. When it hits the ground, the momentum will be transferred to the ground. I'm saying a bowling ball has momentum. It transfers the momentum to the bowling pins. And that's all it can do is transfer its momentum. It can't transfer anything else. And that's a provable fact. An 8-pound ball going 16 miles an hour won't knock down twice as many pins as a 16-pound ball going 8 miles an hour because all the ball can do is transfer momentum. All right, he suggests that there's no such thing as kinetic energy. Yes, there's no such thing as Leibnizian living force. Scalar living force. Yeah, no such thing. It's hobgoblin. All right, which is laughably idiotic. Okay, he suggests, let's see what this guy says. He suggests there's no such thing as kinetic energy, which is, so it's laughably idiotic not to believe that 25 times the fuel to go 5 times as fast is insane. Well, whatever. And he doesn't even know what a differential operator is. Yes, I don't need a differential operator. So I'd almost argue as soon as you call something a differential operator, I'm suggesting probably it's just a pile of shit. Yeah, that's probably nonsense. Okay, you can watch him make a fool of himself. Okay, I don't know what videos these are, but obviously I make very good arguments. Thank you very much. So this is the evil one. So this is 3 months ago. So 3 months ago, the fucking asshole, the shitty physicist, Valerie was here. Okay. And here is the simplest experiment anyone can do at home with no special equipment to prove him wrong. So there's no simple experiment that proves me wrong. So it's just a big lie from the liar. And this is the same liar who cheated a rubber band experiment. So you do a simple experiment, you put a rubber band between 2 posts, and then you launch things with it. And he had to cheat the experiment. And he's a physics professor, and he had to cheat a simple experiment like that. All right, let's see if this asshole still has my name. No, he finally made a comment without my name in it. All right, and yes, the only exact thing that needs to be pointed out is how he has zeroed in on inmendham, momentum, MV, being the only important thing in the study of kinetics. It always works. You'll always get it the right. I'm just saying, show me the experiment where momentum doesn't work. I'm just saying, if you analyze any circumstance that happens in the universe, anything, a bullet going through somebody's head, any fucking thing happening, a leaf blowing in the wind, anything, analyzing the momentum will always work. It'll never fail. All right. He disbelieves such fundamentals as gravitational potential energy. So that's a big lie. So we know it's, I disbelieve that the height has anything to do with it. It's all time. So twice the force is twice the velocity. Twice the time in the force will give you twice the velocity. It's 9.8 meters per 1 second. It's not 9.8 meters per second squared. So yes, that's high school level stuff. I'm saying that's grammar school level stuff. Understanding that gravity comes in 1 second clumps. It's 9.8 meters per second of added velocity per 1 second. That's the absolute fact. It's not per any number of seconds. It's not per 45 seconds. It's not per 1 meter. It's not per 10 meters. None of that shit is true. It has nothing to do with distance. Oh, these people are such liars. Okay. Anyway. All right, so this is a guy who's commenting on the new science channel. So, you know, but just a pathetic liar. So this is 6 months ago, it says, I think. 6 months? Oof, long time ago. His main claim is that what he calls momentum is energy. No, I mean, what I call momentum, it's just clearly Descartes, Galileo, and Newton all called it quantity of motion. And we know the word momentum is just quantity of motion. So we know what this is. Note that he defines momentum as mass times speed. No, it's mass times velocity, but whatever. I said these assholes actually think there's some difference between a speed and a velocity. So somehow you're supposed to recognize that somehow the speed is scalar. It's not in any direction, but velocity is in a direction. These are their exact statements. They're so fucking whacked. Okay, whereas in real physics, it is mass times velocity. Amazing. Amazing that somebody would say that there's a difference between mass times speed and mass times velocity. Can you imagine what kind of cretin, what kind of idiot, what kind of moron could possibly think so? Okay, so enough physics. But this is bizarre. I mean, I guess I'll read some of these physics arguments on this thing in my on the physics channel, because these are bizarre arguments. God, people are stupid. All right, so you got a little bit of both. So I will put the link to the physics Reddit. And yeah, and I think I've done enough ephilism here that, yes, I've satisfied my ephilism quota. And just say, yes, you know, it's interesting. There's a million comments by a million people on these anti-natalist subjects. And it's just too bad that somebody hasn't compiled all of the good arguments and put them in one place and just say, yeah, well, these are the ones that are pretty good arguments. The rest of this shit is sort of a waste of time. But anyway, there's not a lot of people doing much work, I guess is the problem. People aren't working very hard, at selling and promoting Efilism. But, what are you going to do? Most of the believers are, like me, depressed and tired of it all and sick to death of having to endure, the stench of humanity and the bloody horror of nature. And so it's very difficult living on Earth. And so I understand why they're not very productive. Yeah, it's dismal. All right, so anyway, that's enough. Yeah, I don't really think I should have to say much more, do much more. Yeah, no. I made it to an hour. That's enough. Like I said, the one subject is good enough to make the point. And I could just reiterate the arguments that nobody makes on all of these boards, which I'm surprised, right? From all the comments I've read so far, nobody's saying the obvious thing like, well, we've already won the argument in the sense that human population is on a dramatic decline. So any kind of civilization, all civilized populations have declining population. So obviously people know having kids isn't big fun. Okay, and it's not something you must do for the future. Like it's some demand that the future needs more morons in it. And you can figure out, no, it really doesn't. There's going to be enough morons. I don't need to make any new ones, and it's all of that. So they philosophically, to some extent, have accepted life as too weird or fucked up or inconvenient or whatever. They found a reason to say, yeah, not for me. I don't really want to be part of this, make the future thing. I don't sense any compelling need for me to force the future to have people in it. I mean, besides, people thinking that, oh, I want to see a little me, once you get past the idea of, well, I'd like to see what a little me would look like, a blended me with whoever I'm fucking, I'm curious. I'm curious what it would look like. So I'm going to satisfy my curiosity. Beyond that tiny thing, where would you ever really have some notion in your head, oh yeah, I need to populate the earth in the future, so after I'm long dead, there can be people doing silly shit. I mean, that ambition never even, I'm sorry, but it never even occurred to me to think, oh, I need to make babies so there'll be some moron, 100 years from now, with diarrhea. I don't need to do that. I don't need to make that person. Amazing. But anyway. It's just, God. But yeah, this is the dilemma. People are so fucking dumb that it's almost no point in talking. Because they're so fucking dumb. I mean, and belligerently dumb. It's not like they're, accidentally dumb. They are forcing the issue. I mean, the very idea that somebody would say, how could I be such an idiot to believe in momentum when they have shown so much evidence of this other stuff? When, no, there's no evidence. How could I believe in something with a vector when it's so much better to believe in things that move but don't go anywhere? Yeah, that's so much more clever. Movement that doesn't go anywhere. It has no vector. Yeah, that's brilliant. Yeah, whoa, I'm really missing the fun boat there. Oh, it's just so ridiculous. All right, anyway, enough. Yeah, it's enough of a video. So, till the next time and such and so forth and whatnot. Yeah. So, no AI.